So we're on Oprah.com for a special after the show conversation. The show Intervention is A&E's most watched and talked about show. It's been called reality TV at its most intense. Jeff VanVonderen was doing interventions for a living when he got the call to do them on TV, and he's Skyping in from Houston, Texas. I think fundamentally, still today, people do not understand why it is a disease, why a workaholic can't just stop working. Why, eating, working, shopping, gambling, drugs, alcohol.
Well, I mean, one reason why people don't think it's a disease is because you can't, take a blood test and there's a germ or addiction.
Right.
It's a disease because if you look at it like a balance scale, like a teeter-totter, okay? On one side of the teeter-totter is the actual using behavior. So for Jason, it was shooting up, and for Josh, it was eating. That's the using behavior. And on the other side is the addictive stuff. The mood altering. People don't just get addicted to substances. They get addicted to mood altering, period. And they develop thinking patterns that sustain that. And they pay prices that they're willing to pay to keep using, and it's like a teeter-totter. And so the whole thing is the addiction, not just the using part of it. So abstinence doesn't solve anything. So if the person just doesn't use or just quits doing whatever it is they're using behavior, for Jason it would be just go on a diet. I mean, for Josh, go on a diet. See, what happens is the teeter-totter tips. And so now you don't have the using behavior, but you still have all the attitudes, all the rituals, all the patterns, all the shame, everything else, and that's uncomfortable. So one of the ways to make that more comfortable would be to start using again, and then it tips back to this level place. Or that's also why if somebody has a lot of problems and depression and mental health issues, and they go see a psychiatrist for that, and that takes the psycho-emotional part off the scale, and so now it's unbalanced again, and because the using is still there, they haven't dealt with the mood altering chemical part. So to make it more balanced, then all those problems come back, and now the scale balances. So that's why recovery is about not using, and it's also about healing and dealing with all those patterns and attitudes and and the thinking that's involved with addiction, and then the scale is still tipped because both of those are being dealt with.
Yeah, but the other thing is people think you don't bring cancer on yourself, but you do have a choice when it comes to abusing substances, whatever your substance of choice is.
Well, it would be like this. It would be like cancer is a disease, and cigarette smoking or smoking a cigarette is not a disease.
Right.
But if smoking a cigarette, the behavior leads to the disease, it's not enough to just quit smoking anymore. There's a disease now present. So, nobody plans to become an addict. They plan to use today.
Right. Okay.
And the other thing is,
took me a while to click into that, but I got it. So nobody starts out being an addict, and when you start out, you're not an addict.
Well, I've heard people say that I was an addict the first time I ever used, and I think that's possible, because they experience the feeling of whatever substance they're using, and they just decide, here's why I'm doing this. I like this a lot. I'm just going to do this, and so that becomes the substitute way of dealing with whatever issues they have in their life. And then sometimes, you see somebody who drank successfully, meaning without consequence, the appropriate social drinker, for 30 years, no problems. And then their wife dies. And 6 months later, they've lost everything. They've lost their business, their house is in foreclosure, because on that day, they changed the reason why they drank.
Ah, I got it. Very helpful insight. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Appreciate it. Really. Thanks for joining us on Oprah.com.